Hello and welcome to the Friend or FoF Lounge. I'm your friendly neighborhood shoutcaster Shargan, and I have some very special guests joining me today. First off, we've got BBZ's Red, who's going to be filling in the bottom slot right down there in the corner. How you doing, Red?
I'm doing great.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you. Always glad to have you. Love having the Blue Bayou Zoo. And then we've also got Universal Basic Income's Utility Monster.
Good to be here.
Yeah, and then to round it all off, I've got one of my favorite shoutcasters, Lolo, joining us. He just had a absolutely fantastic game where he was casting with another gentleman who's joined us named Schnacky, I think. And it was just, oh my god, like that, you two just killed it. I just want to say right off the bat, wow, that was awesome. So that was really fun.
Thank you, my guy.
So good. So good. All right, so let's go ahead and, you know what, let's just hop right into this. So we have actually got some of the games. We're going to go over the games that actually were played off broadcast because for Labor Day holiday, we obviously played the games, but we didn't want to have to do the whole production, give some of the staff a little bit of a break. Players didn't get one. So first one we had up was Serenity Senate versus YUBI. So this draft is a little interesting. I haven't seen Trundle in a support role in a while, so I was just kind of wondering what made you kind of pick that one off right off the bat.
I think these are Monday's games, last Monday's games.
Yes. Oh,
No, because Sarah YUBI was on broadcast. Was it not?
No, it was.
No, it wasn't. You're right.
It was
You're right.
Clovis's uncle or dad,
You're right.
Uncle It.
Yeah.
You're right.
It was the bootleg stream.
Leg stream. You're
Yeah,
right.
it's the bootleg stream, so we're getting like raw league. We're not getting any production value. Nothing crazy going with these.
Yeah. No protection here.
I think we've played Trundle support before this season.
I think we've seen it at least once. It's
but we
not
played it in the finals.
We played it a lot last season in the playoffs. It's a very good pick, especially into tanks. The Trundle ult is really nice, and then Trundle Pillar is just one of the most uninteractive possible crowd controls in the game.
Yep.
And Brian really likes playing it, so that was something that we thought was good into Nautilus.
Does he like using it to also counter Blitzcranks? Is he good enough to do that?
He really enjoys doing it, but we don't let him because we don't think it's actually good. But he gets a lot of irrational joy when he gets to pillar himself off of Blitzcrank hooks,
Nice. I always watched a video of that. That just made me laugh pretty dang hard. So what was kind of y'all's plan going into this game? Because Serenity Senate, they've kind of shown that they do have... they're not a weak team in the slightest. Like, they've got definitely like a chip on their shoulder, and they seem like they're doing a pretty good job showcasing their strengths throughout this series.
Mm-hmm.
What was your expectation going into this game?
Well, they were playing a new jungler. It was the first time that Filthy Casual had played a game before they'd been using Frozen Incursion. And it seems like a pretty big upgrade in the jungle role, to be honest, but we didn't have any idea how they would play because new jungler really changes your playstyle. So we were just banning champions that they had played a lot previously and then ranked, and drafted things that we were comfortable with and just hope for the best.
Okay. And then Lolo, I know you said you got a chance to kind of take a look at it. Was there anything in particular that stood out to you in this game?
Well, I mean, I'm glad we got a chance to talk about this a little bit prior, because the draft for me was definitely... I was interested particularly by the Maokai top, just because into an Ornn. I didn't see the draft actually, so in terms of priority in the draft, I wasn't sure where that had picked up. But it's going to match the Ornn fine. You're not going to be able to snowball the Ornn out of lane with a pick like this, and the Ornn definitely has the better of the scaling. So, but we talked about it, and I gather, I mean, if Irina Thunder is comfortable on the pick, then it does provide a lot of utility later on in the game. So it's like, you just have to assume that the rest of the map is going to go well for yourself and just have to make as best you can.
Yeah. We had purchased Maokai as a flex pick, even with our main roster, because Brian can play at support. It was his most played support last season. And then Freelancer plays at top lane, and then our sub Arena Thunder played it as well. So because it's a flex, we have a high priority on it, and then because she's comfortable on it, she's a mid lane main normally. So the fact that she had to fill in for top lane for us, I think she did a great job, coming in an off roll and going even is basically all you can ask for from a sub. So we're really happy with that.
Now, but before I start talking about what I'm about to start talking about, I'm going to go ahead and say spoiler warning. So you got the next, I'd say 15, 20 seconds to look away before I start giving away how this game ends. I'm going to put the link to the game down below so you'll be able to check it out there. But I think that's long enough. With that, so this game, we don't have to talk about it too much. It was kind of a rough one. It definitely was not a easy game for you to go through.
I mean, it was our first loss, so those are never fun.
Yeah, first losses are never fun. So like I do want to talk about like this first blood was not early in the slightest. It took a long time for it to come out.
Yeah,
There was a lot of posturing in this game.
There was
just a lot of wave clearing to begin with.
Not gonna lie, I'm kind of glad it was off broadcast because I didn't have to shoutcast that.
Yeah.
Yep. So just kind of walk us through like this initial gank down the bot lane, like kind of like what happened down there. Do you?
Well, I'll say off the bat that I think that was a bit of a wastage from Steve. I don't know why you're flashing here. You're dead either way, man. Like once the Nautilus has put the depth charge down on you, then you're gonna get run down.
Yeah. So we actually knew Hecarim was here. We'd been tracking his pathing, so he's clearing top to bot from the beginning of the game, just full clearing on cooldown, which is the best thing he can do for his economy. And then he's just ganking bot when he has no camps left. I think our bot lane got into a little bit of a false insecurity from their wards, which are actually really good if they're not against Hecarim. They have really good vision of anyone except for Hecarim who can just run through the ward and kill them anyway. So I think they were just a little bit too far up, given the champion that they're against. And then Brian's for sure dead, and I think Jeff thought he could maybe trade something back, and then realized he couldn't and ended up dying using both sums instead of just leaving.
Okay,
What was your reaction to when
10
Filthy
minutes.
Casual did that, by the way?
I didn't
What?
watch the first 10 minutes of this game, and that was super funny.
Yeah, no, genuinely, like when I watched that on the VOD, I was like, what is this guy doing?
Yep.
Like he just I think he felt a little bit bad after getting so much value off of that bot line play. He's got to even up the
Well,
scoreline a little bit.
Yeah, and it's like it's not the speedy recall, obviously, not anymore.
Yeah, it was an execute, but and this was a tragedy. I am for sure dead, but Clovis I think should live. Civlock should live. So it's a tragedy that we give another kill back, because if Civlock gets to crash the wave there, then it's actually a positive play. So that was unfortunate, but you know those plays really put us off in the back foot. We're up a lot of farm still, especially bot lane. So you know we're not in a horrible spot, but definitely not ahead, which is where we often end up out of laning phase. So some uncharted territory a bit.
Which, talking about uncharted territory, so I'm just gonna kind of hop down here a little bit. So we're gonna just kind of like skip to a midpoint here, just because I want to point out, it's like, yeah, you guys do end up giving up the first couple of Drakes. You do end up going 9-3 at some point. However, it was right around here at about 22 minutes.
This is where we get wombo comboed?
That fight, I think you did go wombo comboed. I was not going to show the wombo combo, but if you want me to show the wombo combo, I'll show the wombo combo.
It's a pretty cool combo.
Yeah.
I want to see it. I want to. I'm just here for good gameplay, man.
So you guys are setting up around Drake.
Yep, we don't want to give him soul point, so we're setting up around it. We're down at this point 1.5 to 2k gold, so definitely down some items. But we have mythic spikes for the most part, or Muramana, so we felt like it was playable.
Yep.
And then we get totally obliterated.
Yeah, just a little bit. It's kind of nasty. You got Orenhorn, you got Event Horizoned. I'm not entirely sure what Brian Singh's plan was going over on the Blast Cone.
Yeah.
And then,
the one thing that we probably could improve here is Civlock. If he's in the wombo combo, if he's like slightly in Dragon Pit more, he can potentially package and split the fight earlier. So right here, he gets wombo combo, so he can't package. If he's in the Dragon Pit around the corner, he gets to package everyone a little bit earlier. So that was the one thing that we saw in this fight that could go better, but overall it was really well played by SCR, and you know we are now down to soul point and down a lot of gold.
Well, actually, another thing right there is with the way that Serenity was positioned, a correctly positioned package from inside pit could have them all stuck like into the wall basically, and so they have no escape. So I think positioning on that one could have been better, and you could have just cut them off so they couldn't have escaped. Or just pin them to the wall with it, and either one of them would have been really good.
It's their positioning was also actually, I don't know if this was intentional, but the fact that the Ornn doesn't get rooted there by the Maokai is super, because there was so much value there from the Call of the Forge God, right? It's like so, and it's only because they body blocked for him. So I'm not sure if he entirely intended to like position that, but he did it super well because
No, they played it well, and yeah, we made a couple of small mistakes, and we got completely rolled in the fight. So
yeah. Oh yeah, that was a rough one. That fight right there is definitely a rough one. And then this is the one that I was thinking of. Ooh, a little far ahead. So I think this is one of those fights where you guys started to end up turning it around. I mean, yeah, Brian's saying does get blown up, but just with the way this fight ends up playing out.
yeah, we went a little bit early. We thought the teleport package was a little bit faster, so we maybe lost more health on our engage than we needed to. But definitely, yeah, when you're behind, you got to look for some desperation engages, and this was a good one that we found.
Yeah, and I mean, right there, Halos, stepping outside of the event horizon kind of made him a little bit of a target. Obviously, we weren't able to grab him. But
Yeah,
then Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, if the package TP was just lined up a little bit more, that could have easily been an ace.
Yeah.
I love paranoia TP, by the way. It's so nasty.
I hate that mechanic. I hate it so much.
It's incredible.
I wouldn't hate it as much as I do if TF ult worked in it. I think that's my biggest issue.
Oh, the fact that TF ult is blinded by Nocturne ult as well?
Yeah.
I had the most this is entirely aside from this, but I had the most embarrassing moment where I played a game with Shen, and I was getting so irritated by the paranoia because I couldn't react to the fights, and then afterwards someone was like, just click on their icon, mate. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's
yeah, but you can't see their HP on the icon, so it's hard to tell which one's getting ulted.
Right, you just kind of gotta guess, be like, okay, who is the squishiest, who had the lowest health, and is most likely the target?
Yeah. It's not optimal, but it's better than not using the ability at all.
Right. So there was that fight. It lets you pick up your first Drake, get that Cloud Soul, or get that Cloud Drake going. And then what was it? Not a minute later, the exact same spot, SCR takes the exact same fight, and you guys end up pulling out yet another. It pulls out really, really well for you.
Yeah, Brian had a really nice flash pillar there.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna chase you under tower.
Yeah,
here.
at this point, we're just trying to make the game as messy as possible. Take these sort of extended scraps where we have a chance to have them make more mistakes than we do, because we're still behind, down to still 3,000 gold and some dragons. So
that spell shield by Jeff God, chef's kiss.
Problem is that one of the main things is that
that's right. They
Sweezy can front line for the entire team at this point, right? He's so tanky.
Yeah, so we end up losing this fight, but there's another one later that we do win him in, I think, that you're thinking of.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're just looking to make the game as messy as possible and look for extended scraps like that. And sometimes it doesn't work because we're behind, but that's our out at this point.
I think there was another fight over here.
The fight you're thinking of, I think, happens after Baron.
After Baron.
Oh no! This was a turn as well, actually. No.
This was a turn, yes.
Yeah.
So this one, I think they just overextend under our tower, and we actually do get a good engage off here.
Yeah, and I remember there was one overextend y'all had trying to get that inhibitor in the mid lane towards the end.
Yeah, nice. Really nice package to split up the team.
Yeah, no, the packages were really what was keeping us in the game at this point. And then we were able to follow
Civillock
up.
was putting in the work. Corky is.
So, I 100% thought after this fight that YUBI was going to win the game.
Yeah, it was close. The problem is with our comp is that we have a much better mid game spike, and we're sort of leveraging the last bit of that to take these fights from behind. But we actually do end up getting outscaled, super late, which is what we're going to end up getting. So it gets harder and harder, and we become more and more reliant on the Corky. And when you have such a single threat this late in the game, it becomes a lot easier for SCR to play around.
Yeah, because with that Veigar just constantly getting stronger and stronger and stronger, it becomes really, really scary.
Yeah. So we use the tempo from that one fight to trade for. We give them soul basically because we're taking Baron here. So we take Baron on spawn and reset, and they get soul off of our reset. And basically we're gambling that we can end the game off with this Baron, because Baron is stronger than Soul while you have it. It just doesn't last for very long. So that was our play. Is basically, so this is our last power spike in the game. We just want to be as strong as possible, buy pots, buy everything, and then try to end the game off with this Baron. So that was the call here. I think it's reasonable. It doesn't end up working out, of course, but it's close. We almost do.
I was gonna say, yeah. Then you end up with this mid lane push where you guys
so
are.
Here they can't interact with our siege. They can't interact with Candyman, so they're forced to engage eventually, or they'll slowly lose everything. They probably could have stalled a little bit longer than they did, but they end up just pulling the trigger here. And we're able to turn on Ornn before the rest of his team can follow up, thanks to a great Maokai ult. And then we end up winning this fight, but it's not a landslide victory. If we kill them, obviously it's game over. But it's a small win. We get some towers, but we're not able to close the game here. And then our Baron runs out.
Yeah, which is always what you really hate seeing whenever you've got like a huge push like this, because you're like, once the Baron runs out, you're like, oh god, now we gotta wait like a whole nother 5 minutes and try and survive that just to try and do this one more time. And if you can win the game, but it's hanging on for those last 5 minutes. It's so tough.
The fact that LTY is untouched throughout pretty much all of this is one of the, I think, it's so hard to get on him at this point, isn't it? It's
Another thing is this Ezreal ult right here.
Yeah.
I actually noted it as another really good play, because it completely relieves them from a potential like shoving into through another lane, and it basically just forces the remaining members of YUBI to back.
Now, if I
remember,
remember,
at this point, it's super late game. Whoever wins the next fight is likely going to win the game. I think their comp is favored, but it's coin flippy. It's one fight, so that's what we're playing for at this point.
Okay. And if I remember correctly, the Ezreal ult used to have a feature where if you hit a target, every target after that took reduced damage. They took that off like... It is like that?
They removed that, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, they took that off like, what was it, like a season or two ago?
It was when he got his mini rework on his W.
That's right, yeah. And it's like, I feel like in the old Ezreal ult, Civillock might have survived there, but with the way it is now, obviously, just kind of explodes everything.
Yeah.
That's...
one thing to note just from the draft, by the way, is that we expected these players to play these champions, but we didn't expect them to put LTY mid and Halo spot on these champions. So that was a weird thing from draft.
Right.
And I don't think it's good objectively. Like, I think that you would rather have Ezreal bot and Veigar mid, but I think it makes sense as a part of a draft game plan for them to constantly have Hecarim bot and sort of play really defensively around the Veigar and have a lane that's hard to gank with Nocturne. So I think it's an interesting stylistic choice against the way we play specifically, even if it's worse against the way most teams would play.
I also think it's important to get levels onto the Ezreal in this scenario. Right? Because when you're in the solo lane, you are getting more XP, and if you're trying to accelerate a carry, like that's for a long time the reason why Lucian was a mid laner, was because he just got more levels and he scaled with levels more than items. Tristan is the same way. So I don't disagree with the switch if you're trying to scale an Ezreal faster.
Maybe. I think it is worse overall, but it does definitely have some strengths than they were playing to those strengths. So it was an interesting stylistic choice.
And it does allow the Veigar to farm a little bit safer, get a little bit safer Qs. So get that dark power stack.
Yeah. So here we were able to get a tower and then Sivir ult out. Sivir ult at this point in the game has no cooldown, so
which is
pretty
always
good
really
about
nice.
that. Getting as much gold and pressure on the map as we can before this Elder fight. That's probably going to decide the game.
Yep, and then you've got the lethality Sivir going on, which is the absolute most terrifying thing in existence when it like pops off. I hate it.
At this point in the game, we'd rather have crit Sivir at this point, but lethality Sivir is a lot easier to get to this point in the game.
Right.
Yeah, crit. When you're doing crit Sivir, you really do need to get to 3 items before you can really do anything.
Yeah, and the way that our comp is, it's very much a mid-game power spike comp, and lethality Sivir sort of fits into that game plan a lot better. So it's unfortunate that we don't have crit Sivir now, but we'd rather have had lethality Sivir up to this point anyway.
It's always
so
this is the part where you're talking about before.
Yeah, so he gets caught out in the side. I think the actual issue is that as soon as he sees Ezreal, he can just commit to he doesn't have to run, he can just commit to packaging and we can just engage. But it's sort of hard to, he's trying to look at his screen and trying to figure out what we're doing on the other, side, and he can't see us. So it's hard to communicate exactly what's going to happen in this type of fight. We're trying to make the best of it, but we end up losing the fight here. We lose Elder and Baron. and that ends up losing us enough inhibs that the map pressure is too much, and we have to force a bad fight and lose the game off of it. So this is really the deciding fight of the game, even though we take one more.
Yeah, you take this last fight right up here.
We take this last one, but we're sort of forced to fight to not lose everything in our base, and our comp is not built to force into their comp. So we do our best, but it's over.
Yeah, it's kind of that ironic element to it where it's like you're forced to take the bad fights, but
right. You
guys do a pretty good
best.
job. Yeah. It's definitely really cleanly played, and so like that kind of leads me to this question. It's like based on where you believed SCR was, where Serenity Senate stood before and after this game, do they still kind of like stack up? Do they have a little bit more of like, you're like, oh, these guys are actually a threat, we need to actually take them down a little bit harder?
So I think, like I said earlier, the biggest thing is they're playing with a new jungler. I think that he played and enabled their play a lot better. But I also think that we just had an off day, and we're also playing with a substitute. So I don't think Irina Thunder played poorly. I think she played better than we expected, and if we could get that performance out of an emergency sub, we would do it every time. But I think that we're just more used to playing with freelancers. So there's definitely going to be just little things that are harder to communicate if you're playing with someone who's not playing with your team as often. So I think we have a better chance if we're playing with our main roster, but and I will also be a better chance if we just play to our capabilities more. But definitely the fact that SCR is able to, even if we aren't having our number one game, if they're able to take a game off of us, that's impressive. And we'll definitely be looking to beat them the second round robin, so that we can prove it was a fluke. Yeah,
the other
we'll remember
thing
that.
that's really important here is Serenity's roster is actually changing after this week. I do know that Cheeky Pengu and LTY are leaving the team. I believe they are staying on until replacements are eligible or are found, but I do know that they are leaving.
I wish I had that info and I could confirm, but I don't have that info on me at the moment.
That is something that is going to be happening going forward, I think it's going to drastically change the team.
Potentially. I mean, the game against us, they played with Ollie, so it was just LTY, but yeah, it's always, I mean, swapping members out is always difficult, even if the skill is there on the replacements, just building up the communication again.
Yeah, communication is key.
Yep, communication will definitely do it, and then it's also just its champ pools and play style. It does have an effect, so. All right, so with this one, I will admit, so that the next two games that we have coming up, which are SKL versus Fraud Squad and HBK versus BBZ, I haven't had a chance to fully watch through them, so I'm not as caught up on these. So if y'all have had a chance to catch up on them, feel free to like point out some really important stuff. Otherwise, I'm just gonna kind of hop over stuff that I think is pretty interesting.
Well, my first take is how much pressure are they putting on this Tristana to carry, man? Like, that's a huge amount. They're enabling her massively there, but she's gonna have to be big.
That
If
is
you look
a
at that's how they play.
Zishan is their card player.
Right. Okay.
And I've seen some highlight reels. He's actually a really good AD carry. I just think that either they're not playing well enough around it, or the synergy just isn't there yet.
Right. I also think it can be easier, even if it is your primary carry, if you just have another threat that your opponents are forced to deal with. It can be more effective peel than having actual peeling tools like a Gallia.
Yeah.
So I can see it being a hard comp to execute, especially if you get behind it all early, that you just won't have the damage to break through Fraud Squad.
Yep, I completely agree with you on that. I feel like we've seen Theracles really pop off on Corki, of all champions, that we saw last game. And I think that that's something that they really need to be tapping into. I feel like Theracles is kind of a little bit, I don't want to say slept on, but I feel like that they're not necessarily utilizing him to...
Underutilized.
They're underutilizing him a little bit. And it's kind of like he definitely has some skills that he should be taking into these fights.
I'm not sold in this Corki. He's clearly not comfortable in the character. He built armor penetration on it.
Sure.
Wait, did he really?
He did.
He did.
He built what is it? Is it Mortal?
No, not Mortal. Lord Dominic's, yeah.
Lord Dom's, yeah. He built Lord Dom's Corki instead of Infinity Edge in like a 40-minute game.
Well,
No, what-
I mean, depending on how tanky the enemies are, I don't
No.
necessarily.
Corki does 75% magic damage. It's never correct.
I'd also just say that IE is just too much value, man.
Yeah, IE is insane, and it's Corki.
Yeah.
Like it was. So I'm not sold on this Corki in particular, but I do think that having just a second carry can make your comp easier. I don't think this comp is bad. I think it's possible. I just think that it's brittle. So if anything goes wrong, then you're sort of out of the game.
I was gonna say once you
So-
lose the Tristana, you're just kind of where's your
But
damage?
if you can get ahead, and you do have tools to get ahead with sort of Shen ulting out and Galio helping other lanes, then you can sort of just use your base damages on these tanks to cheat damage a little bit and make your Tristana as strong as possible. So I don't think it's a bad comp. I just think it's very brittle.
But like the Ornn here again, it's just it's
I love
putting
Ornn.
a bit of a exactly like it's putting a bit of a timer like on their capability to like snowball the game because of the scaling. But it's not just that, like he's so safe, he's gonna like allow them to play front to back like really nicely in like
Sure.
in the later stages of the game, and therefore if
I mean, the game plan here has to be to go to lanes that are not top lane. Like, you're not playing for your Shen, you're trying to play for bot lane as much as possible. So you're ulting Shen out, you're ulting Galio down, you're 5-banning bot lane as early and often as possible.
Yeah, exactly. But what I mean by that is that by doing that, you are fully committing your team like to a corner of the map, and you have to assume that the pressure going on the other side isn't going to completely invalidate what you're doing to snowball the Tristana, assumedly. So it's a big gamble. That's my main kind of
Sure. It is very telegraphed. You're saying we're going to do this, and you can't stop us.
Exactly.
I don't like the idea of playing because I mean, in essence, this is a Juggernaut comp. If anyone is old enough to remember
Juggernaut?
that.
I remember Juggernaut.
No. Or supports in a Kog'Maw. Season.
I remember
way
that
back
stuff.
when.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Like that was
Anyways,
It's funneling. It's funneling. Yeah.
When you're running comps like this, you're typically aiming kind of towards that late game where you're kind of have this one damage source that can just output everything. And the two things that I don't like about SKL's composition specifically into what is this, FS? Yeah, FS is like Tristana naturally is really bad at killing tanks. She's probably one of the worst AD carries at it. And so having an Alistar who's just naturally tanky, and then an Ornn who's going to be getting free CS because the Shen's going to be ulting out, and then also the Ornn causing disruption with the ult. It's really not ideal. I think if you're wanting to pull off something like this, you either just have to pick a AD carry that can burn through the tanks, like a Kog'Maw, for example, or just have specifically the Ornn banned.
And similarly, you're putting a lot of pressure on the Sejuani pick as well, because you know already that the Jarvan is going to be coming down into the bot lane perma, for a lot of the game, because he knows that's where all the value is, and he's just going to completely mitigate it. So, he can, and he's so good at ganking early that if you just camp the Tristana and don't let her scale, then you already denying the win con. So, I mean,
that was a really
Sedge
nice fight.
Yeah, it was. But the Sedge is for sure she's decent at counter ganking, but it's still again pulling all of the resources into the bot lane, which is just anyway. No, Jhin never wins this, by the way. Jhin never wins this. As a Jhin main.
The Fraud Squad game plan, though, of especially focusing on mid jungle here instead of going bot immediately to prevent pressure from going bot and then sort of transitioning more pressure to bot, I think is really well played. I mean, they basically prevent the Galio from having the impact he wants, and then they sort of they get a little bit ahead, and they don't rush it. They take what's free, and they don't play perfectly, but they end up just outscaling and getting to the point where Tristana doesn't if Tristana's not 4 items at 25 minutes, then she's not going to kill you all, and you're fine.
Yeah, always gank the globals if you can, because otherwise the globals are counter ganking you.
Yeah. So there are fights later. This one is it's nice, but really, I think the game is already heavily Fraud Squad favored just off of the skirmishing early on. I don't think that the team fights sort of clinch it, and they do a good job to seal the deal, but it's not the part where they won the game.
I feel like Go ahead.
The Jhin is accelerated actually, but even if he wasn't, and I don't know, even if the ally had picked up the kills or something, it doesn't matter. Like they've got enough damage across the board to deal with the Tristana, and he can still provide utility. That's what's so nice about the champion.
They've got enough items that Tristana can't eat through their front line, and they've got enough damage that they can eat through Tristana's front line with multiple damage threats before Tristana can kill all of them. So, and this is just a nice skirmish. This is, they already have a 5k gold lead, and they get another nice fight. And at this point, it's really hard to come back from this if you're SKL.
Yeah, it's really, really tough. There's not a lot you can do in this situation at this point.
Oh dear.
This was a short game. It's not the shortest we've had on record. I think that's going to have to go to Rex in their last game, where it was almost finished before 20 minutes.
Is that faster than any YUBI games?
I can't recall your finishing times from last season. I think.
Yeah, me neither. But I feel like we had some fast ones.
Wait, was it before? Did they end before 20 minutes?
They ended at like 20 minutes 40 seconds.
I'd have to go back and check. I think we had one that was kind of close, although I think it was closer to 21 minutes against INT in the semifinal.
I think that the other one was like, there was like a 20, like I'm going all the way back, to INT in the semifinals.
Yeah, it was game 1.
Yeah.
I think we beat him in like 21 minutes.
Yeah,
I think it was slower, actually.
Oh, then.
And either way, that was before the item rework. Yeah. So.
No, that was...
Wasn't it?
Was
no,
right?
it was just
last season.
Last season, yeah.
Did they? I haven't seen all of this. Did they manage to get Mountain Soul out before the game ended, or?
I don't know if they did, and if they did, it was a little unnecessary, I think.
I mean, the soul's worth roughly 3,000 gold, give or take.
It is, but it's like if it's soul or end game, it's kind of why would you go soul?
Yeah, well,
unless you're Rex.
The Nexus is worth 50 gold, soul's worth 3,000 gold. I mean, you do the math.
From a gold perspective, you're absolutely right.
I just mean that if SKL had gotten that, if they could have held out for that, it might have made the comp a little bit easier to play because the front line wouldn't die.
They don't manage to.
Yeah, I was gonna say one thing that's also like I think we haven't we mentioned Ornn being a really powerful pick, and it's like you mentioned the disruption and stuff. His brittle is also devastating to any front line. Like just
it does a lot of damage. Yeah.
It does so freaking much damage. It's kind of like how concussive blows and Winter's Bite will just surprise you, and like you're just like, whoa, I took how much damage off of that? Wow.
I think we're seeing a trend where I understand like the pick isn't a massive carry. It's like leaving him up there doesn't feel as bad as like if you just leave lane and let like I don't know a Renekton, a Fiora,
or Tryndamere.
Trind, anything like that, like a split push or a Yorick, something like that. You don't want to leave them, but like he's still. It's kind of slept on how much value this pick gives if you just let him scale and like have to don't shut him down early.
The ornaments themselves are just absolutely ridiculous because it's not like last season or it's not like previous seasons where like certain ornaments had like relatively good gold values and others had like terrible gold values. Like they're all relatively similar now with the item rework. And so it doesn't really matter which mythic you're going to be getting roughly 1,000 gold off of it, give or take.
The one caveat to that is I think some of the cheaper support items are a little bit less, and also the mage items give you 1,000 gold worth of stats, but a lot of it's wasted in mana.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so but they're a lot closer in value than they were in previous seasons. So the pick naturally kind of just gives you more gold overall.
Yeah, the uptake from these two games though is that like both of those picks like more or less sack top lane, You got Shen, you got Maokai. Like it feels more like, I mean, good picks are normally you want something that's going to bully the hell out of the Ornn early and make it so that he is in essence a non-factor later on into the game.
Yeah, if you can get a handshake farm lane where one of the players is Or, the other player has a lot of pressure to, with a very similar kit, snowball the game before Orn items come online. I agree.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, that's one of the biggest question marks I'd have about both of these drafts we've seen so far. Is like, because to be fair, like on that comp that SKT drafted, like if you if you pick a carry in the top lane as opposed to this Shen, which I get what the Shen's trying to do, but to be honest, I mean, you have a global from the Galio, like you do have a lot of appeal. You have a Sedge, you have a Nautilus, you have things that can peel for this Tristana and provide frontline. If just something that's probably going to win lane and then provide an additional Irelia, even like pick something that, well, no, not even like it's a good pick, like something that's going to be an additional problem for them in the late game if they leave it up top on an island with an Ornn.
Sure.
And like that's
in an ideal world, I agree with you. It is important to note though that this is a Platinum Under tournament. These are not, professional players. So a lot of times it's often clever preparation if you know that someone's champion pool is limited to prioritize an Ornn or a sort of a similar scaling top laner. If you think that they can't play through top side, their top laner plays for the team, really team fight oriented, we'll just do the same thing but more greedy. That's a fantastic answer in draft. So I think a lot of it also comes down to champion pools and preparation in addition to what you're saying. Like, of course, if you can answer it with an aggressive switcher, that's great. But if you pick Ornn when that's not an option, perfect.
Which
I also think. Oh, sorry.
No, I was gonna say brings up the Phalios pick, but we can totally talk about what you're gonna say, Red.
Oh, I was just gonna say real quick. I would actually rather see the carry in place of the Galio instead of the Shen.
Yeah.
Because I think Utility probably agrees with me on this. I don't like Galio as a peel tool. Like, he can do that. I think he's much better as follow-up engage. I think he's significantly better as a champion. Having played him in both situations where I have divers that I can follow up on and where I am also playing peel, it's like a night and day difference. So I'd rather see the carry there and just have the Shen be doing what he was already doing and be the global.
Shen doing Shen things.
On the Shen, the other thing that you can do actually if you really want the Galio is you can just pick a more aggressive jungler. If you pick a jungler that can sort of go deeper and then give the Galio something that enables it and sort of takes the pressure off of your bot lane being the only thing. So I would play Nocturne here, but Jarvan would work. Any sort of really aggressive bruiser that can sort of just jump in and be a threat is great because it takes pressure off Tristana, it makes everyone else focus this bruiser that you're then keeping alive with the Galio and the Shen, and Tristana gets a free hit. So that's another way to sort of buy a lot of spaces with the jungler.
Yeah. When you're playing AD carry and everyone else is dealing with the dive on the enemy carry and you're free hitting, it is the best feeling in the world.
Galio can't ult Ivern Daisy, right?
That's correct. Only champions.
Only champions. Okay.
I think he can ult Shaco Clone though.
That's because it's technically
I think it's still technically considered a champion.
Or like Wukong
Daisy?
or something,
No, like clones are still considered.
Clones are still champions.
Yeah, exactly.
So
go ahead.
No. I was just going to say I really agree with you, Utility. I think that's probably a much more sensible draft alternative than I'd have gone for.
Right.
Nocturne would have been really nice there. Actually.
Yeah, Nocturne or Jarvan, Xin Zhao can do it. Not quite as fun, but sort of a really go-in bruiser type champion.
What do you mean Xin Zhao's not as much fun? I love Xin Zhao. So much diving, so much death, and so much suiciding. With that though, so we had Utility Monster. You were talking about your UB game earlier. Now we've got you, Red. You can talk about this game, the HBK versus BBZ game.
And he'll have a lot more fun. He gets to talk about winning.
Until we get to Tuesday. I actually I wasn't sure how I felt about this game. I was kind of going off the copium that we lasted a minute longer against UB than HBK did. So I was like, therefore we are a better team.
I love that.
So I was kind of just going off the copium. I really like this, what they did. BBZ's kind of done a lot of level 1 strats at Tribush. Infamously, we prepared AGS before the season started, and I guess they just assumed all teams did it. So when Rex did their fancy one, they were ready for it. So I like to think that we were the reason for that, even though we may not have been. I mean, this game, we were kind of like, okay, we're going to go into draft. They play a lot of the same things. They play J4, they play Xin Zhao, they play Aphelios. We're just going to trade, right? They're going to first pick, we're going to let them first pick one, and then we'll just take the other. And then they kind of just banned all the options and first pick Camille, and we were kind of just sitting there like, okay, I guess we just get everything then. So yeah, I don't know. I think I feel like H Block probably does a majority of the drafting, and he wasn't in for this game, so I think that was something that is probably pretty significant.
Yeah, anytime you're playing with a sub, it's you feel great for winning, and of course the other team trying their best. It's not like it was an easy win, but it does sort of feel like maybe full strength it looks a little bit different. Just the communication is different, the draft is different, everything's a little bit different.
Right. And this game, you don't see anything too crazy. I feel like both these comps are kind of like just standard. Like there's nothing too like out of the ordinary. I do like automatically just straight up looking at it. You see, I feel like BBZ has the much more well-rounded. The set support was a nice pick into the Blitzcrank though. I do think it kind of.
Actually.
I'm sorry.
Oh, we countered the set.
Yeah, Blitzcrank beats set because your ult takes off his W shield.
Yep.
Oh, it does. That's true.
Yeah, we were going to choose either Rel or Blitzcrank, and Orphic was just more comfortable on the Blitzcrank.
Okay.
Nice. Oh yeah, no, Rel Q. The first time that happened to me after the champ came out when I was playing set, that really hurt.
Yeah.
Set actually can do okay into Rel because yes, you can't shield, but you can interrupt the Rel engages a little bit. So that one's a little bit more balanced. I think Blitzcrank's the better pick.
Yeah.
I would actually say like wholeheartedly, it's definitely the better pick. I feel like Rel has enough disengage that she can kind of play back a little bit.
Well, the other thing that we were like, oh, but what if we like mess up and engage, and then the set just throws the Rel back at us and it backfires, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So that was kind of another reason that we were like, probably just go with the Blitz here.
Yeah.
I do like the Amumu. I think Amumu is really strong after the 2Q change.
Dude,
Yeah.
that is low key like one of the biggest buffs he's had in a long time.
Well, he had some adjustments to the rest of his abilities too.
Yeah, he does a little bit of less damage, especially later in the game,
Yeah.
to compensate.
Yeah.
It wasn't that long ago that
I don't wanna look at that.
oh god. It wasn't that long ago that the curse of the set, like the ult became a stun instead of a root, right? Like that.
Yeah, that was late last season or early this season, I think. And then he was also really strong early this season when the Sunfire item was overtuned, and he's one of the best champions to build that. So he still builds it, it's just worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's,
CDR.
Aegis junglers are inherently just kind of weak right now. Overall, I think Amumu is probably the exception.
Yeah, Amumu and maybe Zac if you're building that over the Frostfire Gauntlet.
Yeah, I think those are probably the two exceptions. But they also are a lot more gank and CC oriented than a lot of the other options. Sejuani maybe being the only other one.
Yep. Good control. You guys pick up first Drake real easy.
The other cool thing with the Amumu is that it can go support, which Brian showed, I think Orphic showed in the show match that we played the next day.
Yeah, we've been practicing it.
So the fact that it's not... There's the fact that you can flex it if you get brutally countered in jungle is just a huge plus, even if you intend to put it in one roll.
Yeah, I'm not wholly sold on it yet. I need to see some more games of it before I'm like, yeah, this is good or not.
But the level
but I
one
agree. It's a
double
good
kill
flex.
doesn't, or the level one first blood doesn't sell you on it.
It
Like that-
can
that-
definitely. Well, no, go for it.
No, I was just gonna say like that one first blood was just absolutely devastating. I think it was Rex in their last game.
Yeah.
Pulled out the Amumu.
I was going to say I think it's probably a little bit too early for. I think at the moment it's got that kind of factor where teams haven't worked out quite yet how to play around it.
That's fair.
And like when. Because obviously it's quite a recent change and it is quite strong. Like, I mean, oh no, this is
This is rough. The Tef
well,
on
I mean, well, Red's very happy here. Obviously, like, this is, you've already got a 3-0 Aphelios. You're in a very nice position.
I've finally I have not gotten to play League of Legends in this tournament yet until the loss against COF, because I either am just on a pure farmer or I'm just like in a side lane getting waves while the rest of my team just kills everybody before I get there. So you know what, I'm happy to see my team just pop off and I can just AFK.
It's really nice because then all the
champion
pressure's taken off of you and you're not seen as the one to take care of.
Yeah.
Not a bad champion for AFK farming as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
Take off the nameplate, just look like another UB game, Jeff 4-0 in bot lane for no reason.
Jeff does not play Aphelios, let's be real.
That's because I won't let him.
Yeah, I know. I talked to him about it on a little while ago.
Yeah, and it seems
He's
like it
only
was
allowed to
pretty
play
much
boring champions like Sivir.
Only on champions that guarantee wins, not ones that look pretty.
Exactly.
Dude, that is the second.
That's so fun.
Dude, those gravidums, if you get them really popping off, really nice. He gets a really nice one like towards the end here.
But the Amumu Q Flash R is such a brutal engage to constantly have to watch out for as well.
God, it's so gross. And then the fact that it's just there's just so gross.
At this point, it's just the gold lead is too big, and it's
big.
straightforward win with a nice pop off from Aphelios near the end.
Right about here. I think this is where it is.
Yeah, pretty quick.
Yep. So like you're going for this last inhib, everyone engages, great, but doesn't matter because you just get the nasty root.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's probably more the Amumu ult. It was a really nice Amumu ult that just kept him in place for the Aphelios.
Yeah.
Also,
I think. Go ahead.
For it.
I was just saying. Okay, you go this time.
I was gonna say there was a pretty. I mean, the like low key you see the low key silence there as well. That was kind of nice as well because that delayed them getting out of the fight with their flash.
Yeah, I was just gonna say a lot of times like in a situation like this, I like to give credit to the people setting it up because it's really easy to just be like, oh, Aphelios, big damage, big numbers.
It's more that he has the more flashy ult. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So
whereas like the one against
comes out.
Fraud Squad where he just got like the 5-man nuke ult, like that. I'll give that one to him because we didn't really do anything. That was.
I actually thought that one was this game. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, no, that was the
okay.
Fraud Squad.
Never mind then. All Mumu.
All right, and so with that, you guys end up picking up that win, taking down HBK. How did you guys feel after that?
Kind of confused. We weren't really sure. We were kind of sitting there like, we felt like we had just won right out of draft. We were like, blind picking Camille's real odd. Like, just blind pick first pick Camille. And then he took Dark Harvest and Ignite, and we were just like, oh. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is. I like this more. Just, I mean, if Jita is comfortable on this pick, then this is a much better answer into the Ornn, just because.
Yeah. I like Camille. I think she's really good. I just think that line picking Camille is not the way.
Oh no, 100%. Yeah. But they first. There is definitely counterplay to it. The Jax was a nice counter for that specific matchup. But like the fact that we've seen two like pop off Ornn games, or like Ornn just providing all the value that you could possibly want in the champ, and now we have a first pick Ornn, and we have a Camille answer into it. I think is really good. I think that's what I want to see out of the drafting.
Yeah,
I think this draft makes sense for both teams. And the only thing I don't like is Ezreal and Lulu together. I think they're both fine individually. They're not anything special, but Ezreal doesn't like an auto attack enough to use the Lulu. I don't think.
No, I agree.
Trying new things.
Yeah. Now with this one, it was a fairly quick first blood. It happens at about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And it was a little gross the way this plays out. Like you get the nice hook, which is awesome, and then Kevin's just gone. There's nowhere for Kevin.
That's a brutal hook.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that easily just hitting the minion there. That was really close.
So hold on, let's slow this down a little bit. Just see how close.
Lulu has 2 health pots, so honestly not that big of a deal for that.
That's only because
she's barely in front of the minion there.
That's just because of the 2.5 D-ness, I think. That's the only reason that it targeted her.
You know how it's kind of sometimes you feel like that thing's got a heat-seeking hitbox on it. Just when you feel like you've sidestepped it, it still connects. It's one of those things.
Yep.
Has Brian gotten to play Nautilus yet this season, or has it been permabanned against us? I forget.
No, he's gotten to play Nautilus.
This season?
I think so.
I banned it.
I know it's been banned.
I think most people have banned it. You have to play Blitzcrank, which is similar, but.
Well, let's check the stats. Why don't we? Hold on, where's YUBI? Could have sworn he did. He is not.
Okay.
He's not yet. He's only Blitzcrank and Amumu are the only 2 hook champs he's played so far.
Gotcha.
Into things, maybe.
Well, hopefully he'll get to play Nautilus at some point.
Hopefully. I don't. If anyone's smart, they won't let him. Kind of like how they won't let Anti play Set anymore. So there was that, and then let's see, there was a good roam at around 9 minutes and 25 seconds that I saw. Let's see here.
Oh, not opting to.
Oh, that doesn't look like fun. Never mind.
They were not having fun whatsoever. So what happens here is like you've got a nice, yeah, you've got a nice jump up here. Looks like it's going pretty well for SKL, but then Echo shows up and it's like, no, it's not. This is going very poorly.
Forced to walk away with the ultimate, but he is going to get stunned, and that's a lot of damage following up. His interest is really going to be. He gets stunned in the tower. He's going to need to deserve more.
So
And of course, you can die for free because what your champion does.
exactly. Echo is so frustrating when his ult is up.
Yeah.
It's almost as bad as a Zillion. Zillion is worse.
I think that's debatable, if I'm honest. Like,
I think having just played a game against a Zillion yesterday, Zillion's worst.
Zillion is just he's got the speed boosts that makes him obnoxious. Just you can't catch him, and that's not going to get affected by Vex, right? Because she doesn't affect blinks or speed boosts, I believe.
it's just dashes, yeah.
For Vex, oh yeah, no, Zillion just speed up. It's just any dash. So Ballista won't be viable ever again.
So this was a debut game for Roy's Hall. So I don't know if you guys actually managed to catch this game. I personally, after having watched this game a little bit and seeing some of the gameplay, I really feel like they kind of, I don't know if they realized what they were getting into, so they overextend a lot. And there's quite a few instances that just tend to not go their way, essentially.
I question the option to lane swap here.
Yeah, that was another thing.
I think it's really worth it. I mean,
He's been helping.
you're gonna be denying some stuff from the Camille, but like putting an Ornn in a side lane with a Vayne just does not sound like the plan.
I don't mind it. I think that denying Camille is more important than denying Ornn, even if Vayne is more important to get ahead than Ezreal. And it did get them the Herald, it looks like, because that's on Volibear. So
yeah, no. So they got the Herald out of it.
I don't think it's the only decision, but I don't think it's an inherently bad decision.
And they are going to try and steal the Drake here, but the Ezreal ult is actually going to go a little bit wide. Yeah, so that was also the objective, was like by putting Ezreal up there, you know he's got the global ult, so he can try and steal the Drake, and he just kind of misses it anyway, even though it wouldn't have arrived in time.
But I mean, they're already 2,000 gold behind from out of laning phase, so lane swapping is sort of trying to just farm their way back into a mid-game team fight. I think makes some sense.
Yeah, it's putting a lot of resources into the Ezreal now, because you are up against a Vayne that is being given a free lane at this point. So it's lame.
But unfortunately, they just sort of slowly lose out on picks and end up getting defeated by H-Block, who
H-Block kind of has
revenge for having a sub the previous game, I guess.
Yeah, they really did, because this game they have control of it like from the beginning, and they're just absolutely stomping it. Like this fight right here, they get a lot of really good fights in these corridors where SKL just kind of goes into a Nautilus and an Ornn, like just walking into it, which is
surprised Ornn hasn't ulted.
He did.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Yeah, it's on CD right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he ults pretty early on.
Oh, okay. It looked like it was up to me, but that was.
Oh no, it was
too small.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You're right. It's on CD.
Yep. I thought he ulted
so
right
much
here.
worse for them though, because the Vayne gets charmed at the start of the fight and just isn't really allowed to walk up and do anything. She gets
Ezreal's out of mana, which I think makes the fight harder to play.
Much harder.
And then if you just look at the mythic completions, there's a lot more inside of H-Block.
Yeah, like they're already. If you're looking at the gold difference, it's already at a 4K gold lead, and it gets bigger as the game progresses.
Well, I think before the fight it was only 2,000, but the bigger difference is the breakpoints. If you have finished your items, it doesn't matter how much gold your team has because you haven't spent it or it hasn't been allocated properly or whatever.
I also don't think Divine was really the best play here on the Ezreal. There's not really a lot of tanks, so you're not really utilizing the Mythic passive, and since it did lose 5 AD, it's not a big difference, but you could have gone Trinity. And since you are trying to do this style where you're like, we need to put more into the Ezreal and have him be a harder carry, having the Trinity to output more damage is really essential.
I have 3 categories of is a build good? So it can be perfectly optimal, it can be not perfect but fine, and it wasn't the reason you lost a game or won a game, and then it can be actively the reason you won or lost a game if it's super bad. I feel like it's in the sort of the second category. It's it might not be perfectly optimal, but it's probably not the reason that the game went the way it did.
Yeah, I'm just saying in a scenario where you're lane swapping to get the Ezreal as much gold as possible, you're gonna want him to have a stronger item in terms of what the champion can provide with it.
I agree. I don't think it's perfectly optimal.
Yeah, and then with that, you've got they get Soul, go for Baron, are able to do it. There's not a lot that SKL can really do to contest it. So it just kind of, just ends the way you think it's going to end, with a pretty nasty push that just ends the game right there. So it's unfortunate. I do think that SKL did a decent job. I feel like they were having some issues with their top lane, just kind of struggling a lot. Lulu obviously got caught up quite a few times, going 0-4-2 by the end of this. That's not where you want to see a Lulu, at all. Just the lack of assists is really rough, but the fact that
so hard from behind though, because you're trying to get vision down. You can't always guarantee that your team can 2 or 3 person babysit you to get vision if you're in jungle. So it's sort of a darned if you do, darned if you don't.
6.6 repeating.
I was gonna KPA
no participation.
Yeah, so she does have
no.
It's just a losing game, and everyone's gonna look bad in the loss.
And, so it's. Don't want to dwell on that one too much. YUBI versus Staff. We can save that for the end. We'll save that for the end, because that was a game. I feel like y'all were taking it exceptionally easy on us. I just want to say it felt like you were kind of giving us a little bit of a bone.
Oh, didn't you get field goal? Go for field goal?
Yeah, we did.
Yep. Went for field goal, and you just kind of stopped too at inhib turret. You didn't even try to go beyond inhib turret.
Yeah, I mean it's for the viewers. Of course, we're favored if we try super hard. I mean, we're a team that's been we won last season, and we've been playing together for a couple of years now. So, and we're playing against a team of 5 random players who's got staff members who got volunteered right before the game to fill time. So it's you gotta go a little easy to make it enjoyable to watch.
We appreciate. We appreciate.
Nah, I think you're underselling the FoF stuff, my guy. I think you should be going in. I think you should be giving them your full potential right there.
I've seen. It's kind of funny. We've talked about some of those staff games, and they've had interesting outcomes.
But, I played in a staff game last week, and I got hard smashed, even though I think I'm better individually than the players I was against. It's just really hard as a team of 5 random people to go up against a real team.
It can be.
It's really easy to look really silly.
Oh, now this game, I
mean, they
remember
probably.
this game.
I don't know. I did execute a debuff.
I remember it too.
You do, Red. Tell us about this game versus Church of Alfonso.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a game that if we were going to lose any game that wasn't to YUBI, it was going to be this one. Basically 0 information on COF outside of the one forfeit game they played. And then we didn't actually know who was playing on our team until roughly 45 minutes to an hour before the game actually started. We weren't sure if Jaffe was actually going to be there, and staff was actually being pretty lenient with us, I think, which I'm grateful for. And then we had Songo rejoining Dax and I, but he's never played a game with Tef before, ever. Not laning, just never played a game with him. So having them in the duo lane wasn't necessarily ideal. And then, Orphic is pretty rusty. He's pretty much just been grinding out support. So I'm happy that we managed to drag it out to, COF needed to take 2 Barons, an Elder, and almost, I think it was a 38-minute game. So I'm pretty happy we were able to drag it out that long. There's some things that we could have changed. Our jungler kind of got his pathing messed up because Orphic was asking for a gank, and then after he already changed his pathing for the first like level 2. Orphic ended up getting the solo kill, and then my jungler's like, well shit, where do I go now? Like, my pathing's all messed up, and then things just kind of devolved from there.
Now, can you?
I think.
Can you tell me why Orphic
though, by the way?
I don't want to watch this. I don't know what this was. I don't want to know.
So I have to admit, it's a little impressive how he ends up escaping. I do appreciate that he was able.
Every moment of this. I watched it all from lane, and I was just like, oh my god, no.
Yep. Like he escaped.
Like I was question mark pinging in there.
But
I don't blame you.
That wasn't the first time. Orphic ends up getting caught out a couple of times in that topside jungle. Does he just like invading? Is that what his objective was?
He's a really aggressive player, and part of the reason he actually went to support was because it was taking a while for him to Dax to kind of get on the same wavelength in terms of like how they play together. They were very different, and then we ended up having Jaffe join, and Orphic was like, yo, I second support, and so we kind of tried out both lineups, and it worked better with Jaffe top and Orphic support. So that's what we ended up going with, and it was a lot easier because we didn't have to establish that communication that was needed, because Jaffe's a very self-sufficient player. He usually doesn't really require much from the team.
I was gonna say, it sounds like it's... Go ahead.
Oh yeah, just going from a player that's like that to a player that's extremely vocal about what they want and is extremely aggressive kind of changes the way we played like entirely. So it was kind of a weird experience.
Okay. I was gonna say, it kind of makes me think of a little bit the dynamic between what we hear about Rafa and Joshi, where Rafa's the aggressive one, Joshi's the calm one. I do have to admit, Orphic is really good at limit testing. He knows his...
he does like the limit test.
He likes the limit test.
Sure.
So like this engage onto Alawi is just, I hate fighting Alawi just at level 2 and 3. Like it's scary. Just the amount of damage they can output.
Yeah, but my man didn't level his E. Like he's never winning that fight without his E, surely.
True.
So I think
it's a hard matchup for Alawi. I think it's one of her worst in the game.
Oh yeah, I do think that Trent actually has a good advantage going into that fight.
She's one of those champions where, like, if you don't know how to play around her, then she can look unkillable, and then if you do know how to play around her, then you can just completely stomp her in lane, I think.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
PC Vita is an Alawi one trick though, right? Is that why you played it?
Oh really?
No, he's, as far as I was aware, I mean, this is kind of one of those things it annoys me to no end. I had no idea where any of their players were actually playing. So like in terms of banning phase, it's just kind of like, well, I guess I'll just ban whatever, right?
And it's not even that you don't know. I think they're just willing to play Reflect.
Yeah, they're willing to play. They're willing to swap around like at any point. So it's really, it makes things a lot harder. I do think that
the cost of them doing that though is that they are not always as comfortable in their roles.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you're right. He's not an Alawi one trick. I was thinking of someone else.
This fight was a bit of a miscommunication. I think if we didn't really communicate where the Braum stun was, and I think if we had done that better, I think we would have won the fight. Because we had people attacking multiple targets, and I was getting zoned off by Victor here, which I'm going to be completely honest, I did not actually notice he had barrier until this moment. So, yeah, it was kind of a weird day.
To be fair,
I wouldn't have either.
I know, but also to be fair, this is a really tough fight for Aphelios and Braum, just because they're stuck right here. Like Aphelios can't really get out now that he's stuck by that pillar.
Yeah, no, I agree, but there wasn't a lot, and we had talked about this afterward the fact, but we didn't properly communicate where the Braum stun, like who it was on, and so everyone was just attacking everybody, and so we didn't appropriately utilize that, and because of that we lost the fight.
You didn't call
out
the fact that
also where
had it.
CUF I think excels is sort of these 4v4, 5v5 team fights. They did last season, and they have sort of the same core this season. So they just really look for these sort of team fight moments, and if they're even, they will often just come out on top, and they'll just make the little decisions better than you.
Yeah, they're really good at skirmishing. And I do think that's what this fight came down to. It's just the little decisions, like if we properly utilize the Braum stun, maybe we would have won, right? And that's such a minute mechanic, that's not necessarily what you're thinking of when you're thinking of a 4-on-4 fight. Is like,
Yeah.
oh, who has the Braum stun on it?
It's also so hard. Like Trundle is such a good answer into it, just because like Big Songo there, he's just not got like. It's so hard for him to get back once he's burned. The stand behind me is not. It's so hard for him to get back and peel for his Aphelios there.
Yeah, that was some miscommunication in draft. Unfortunately, Dax and I work basically until 4:30. So like as we were loading into the game, we were clocking out of work. So when we were doing draft, we were both working, and so we were trying to. It can be difficult to communicate properly on what picks we want to let through or have banned, especially in the second ban phase when we have something like the Xin Zhao that we want to pick and we're not communicating properly on what we want banned that's going to be picked into it. So it's something that is unfortunate.
And I think this starts a 2-minute fight.
Playing better.
Yeah, I think this starts like the 2-minute fight y'all had around mid lane, like where it doesn't end. You guys like go down, respawn, go back, and it's kind of crazy.
But this is exactly what COF wants to do. If they could never farm and just fight you 5-on-5 for the entire game, and everyone has to keep respawning and running back to the fight, they'd probably win every game.
Yeah, they're really good at fighting. And we kind of, like I said at the beginning of the game, we kind of threw off our game plan, and we totally just got sucked into what they wanted to do. And that, on top of all the other things, just kind of led to us not having a great game.
Yeah, I think this was like the last big fight of the series. Was like it started right here. I was wrong about that, by the way. Like that Aphelios.
Well, I mean, this game goes to about 38 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, it does go.
That was pretty good, actually. That was a pretty good dive.
Yeah, the dive is pretty good. Let's see here. And I wrote down that I felt like y'all overstayed a little bit right here.
We did do that a lot, where there was a lot of miscommunication where people were saying, just back out of the fight, and then other people were like, oh no, we can win this, we can continue. And we were kind of all over the place. We had two voices that we're not used to necessarily hearing with our current team. At least or fix in a different position rather.
Yeah. And
so
then
it was kind of one
this
of those
happens.
things where it's, like, all over the place.
Oh
yeah, I hate Alawi. That champion's annoying. That's all I gotta say about it.
Yeah.
She got everything she wanted there, man. She gets the ult.
Yeah, I was pretty chaffed with Sunga just standing right on top of the Alawi there. It was not ideal.
She gets another one.
Yep, and then just trying to chase you down for the last of it, and you're just like, no, please, no, run away. Yeah.
And COS macro from ahead isn't, clinical, but it's good enough.
Yeah, I think they're definitely one of the better teams when they're from ahead, or even from slightly behind. I think they have pretty good macro. I wouldn't say they close out games as cleanly as YUBI or BBZ does when we have a lead, but that doesn't. I think that they're probably better than BBZ is from a slightly disadvantaged spot. So I mean that's they
at
pick
some
up
level, like you're just good enough from ahead. It's like, why practice that more?
Yeah.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah, and at this point, it's like I don't remember if this was like if you had the instance where right here, how many elders is it gonna take to kill Orphic?
Yeah.
It's like, what is it, like 4?
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of in draft and you're sitting there and, sometimes when your player just says, hey, give me this, trust me, you just kind of go with it. And I wasn't too crazy about the pick, but my team was kind of hyped for it. So it was kind of like, whatever.
See, that's your mistake. You got to be a draft tyrant and never let your team play fun champions.
I agree. We were playing with the soft rolls, so we were like, what, let's just have fun with it.
Yep.
I'm happy we performed as well as we did in the game, given the circumstances. Good game to see if they played well.
Yep. Yeah. And it's nice to see COF finally play some games. I mean, they've basically, for just luck of the draw, been involved in almost every forfeit in the league.
They are tied with us currently with 1 win. They have only played 1 game and they beat us, and they are currently tied with us in standings.
Yeah,
kind of frustrating.
It's probably a fair evaluation of their ability. I mean, they're a good team.
They're the third best team, or maybe second, depending on.
Yeah, but it is just funny that they just haven't, for whatever reason, I think they've just taken the early slot. And the early slot is, a lot of people just can't make it, so they've just been the beneficiary or victim of a lot of forfeits.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go up against them with the sub next time. 4:30 games are not BBZ's friends.
That's unfortunate.
They are playing YUBI though on Monday.
That's true. We play them on Monday, and I have no idea what we're doing.
I
So
think
hopefully,
you guys have a good chance.
I agree. We're
I
expecting
think-
to not have subs this week, and so it'll be good to get the full 5-man back together.
Definitely will. So I'm really excited for that. I think the UB versus Church of Alfonso game is going to be pretty fun. And then I'm also kind of excited for the HBK versus Taz game on Monday.
Yeah.
Like, because
I think
that'll be
COF is actually the team, or I mean, as Falcon Esports last season, I think they had the most wins against us.
Yep, I think
They're
that
tied with BBC.
Yeah,
2 wins.
2 wins.
2 wins.
Yeah, 2 wins.
That's right. Yeah.
So we'll have to see.
Oh,
Monday.
sorry. Wait, didn't they beat you guys 1 game in the losers bracket? Didn't they win?
They
one
beat us
game?
1 game in losers bracket, and they beat us 1 game in qualifiers, and then you beat us twice in playoffs, and then Int beat us once in regular season.
Okay, so they have 3 wins over you guys, so they do have the most games. But they also have more games played against you than any other team. So.
That is true.
Oh wait, no, we have the same amount.
Oh, do you? Yeah, you do. Yeah, you
We
do.
played finals.
Because we
which,
played twice.
Speaking of talking about Tristana being bad at the tanks, that was not a fun game 3.
Well, speaking of fun games and rematches.
I love fun games.
Rematches that are coming up. So we've got the UB versus BBZ game on Tuesday.
Yes, we do.
I'm kind of excited to see that. I'm gonna be shoutcasting it, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm just wondering if you guys have anything you want to say about it to kind of steal some strats from each other.
I'm gonna be real honest. I've been really busy lately, and I thought the game was next week until today when you said it was not. So,
You can't be going out. No. I want to hear some.
I
sauce, man.
I do hope we can manage to take the win. It would be nice to go 1-1 with UB because you guys are the best team in the league. Both leagues, actually, I think.
Why is there friendliness on my lounge? I'm very disappointed
exactly.
by
I don't want to hear this.
UB fucking sucks. BBZ's gonna win every game.
Yes, mate.
Sorry.
You gotta get Rex and you be in the lounge, and we will flame each other to high heaven.
Mate, come on. You can't.
But yeah, no, I do hope it's a close game. I think that's what we always try to strive for when we play you guys is we at least want it to be close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot easier to be friends with teams that are, just not really your rivals, so far below you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but I'm here for the banter. Like literally, last lounge we have Big Songo on the lounge as well, and he's like, you know what, Joshi, I'm coming for you. You ain't shit.
We're gonna shit talk a team that's better than mine. Like, originally I could just be like, oh, you guys can only play dive, and then they beat us with no dive, and I'm like, okay, well, shit, that's my only thing I got.
I do hope that
Oh, God.
Dax has finally quit working at Apple Maps, but other than that,
We actually, funny story, we both work at Google Maps.
I know.
Yeah.
But so context behind that, my trash talk last season when we played them in the finals was that Dax needs to stop getting his pathing from Apple Maps.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I didn't know they worked. I didn't even know they worked at Google Maps, so that was just very serendipitous on my end.
It was super funny. We thought that trash talk was so funny. Don't worry, I'm doing the interview for the game tomorrow sometime, so I'll say some stuff then.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm also doing it. So yeah, I'll have Theracles record me. I'll have to come up with some one-liners, some good singers.
So I like that. I like the SKL COF are gonna lose attitudes. So that's good to know. Good to know. With that, that's kind of basically all I had. I don't really have too much else, unless you guys had anything you wanted to bring up, talk about that's going on in the league.
I think overall you can sort of divide the teams into 3 tiers. So I think there's sort of the UB tier. We're in a league of our own. But then I think there's sort of a chunk of contenders. There's SER, COF, BBZ, and H Block. I think are all sort of really good teams that I wouldn't be surprised if they take games off of us going forward as they figure out what we like to do. And that's sort of the next tier, and then sort of the lagging teams behind, which is going to be Taz, SKL, and Fraud Squad. I think Fraud Squad's the best of the 3 from what I've seen so far. They seem like they have the most room to improve and sort of depth of strategy to their play. But I really hope those teams can learn a little bit, because one of them's going to make playoffs. 6 teams make playoffs. But yeah, I think that's roughly how I'd rank all of Luna, and I think that I don't think anyone's so far ahead of everyone else though that it's not competitive. So I think it's really good that the league is overall so close in skill. I think it's really fun to watch.
I think I'm actually a little bit of disagreement on that part. I think there's a bigger skill gap this season than there was last season.
Really?
Yeah. I think the top 3 is pretty defined. It's hard to say. I think HBK, I didn't get to play against them at full strength, and the only game I realistically saw them play like at a level I would be scared of was against Fraud Squad, and then we kind of just did the same thing to Fraud Squad that they did. So, you know, at the end of the day, it's hard to judge them because we didn't play against them with H-Block in the lineup, so I don't know how pivotal he is to the team, and that can change my thoughts entirely. But I think the top 4, and then I think Sarah's at 5th, especially since there is roster changes coming to them. I don't know if they're going to be able to keep up the momentum after the YUBI win. But I could be wrong, you know.
I mean, their org last season did something very similar. They started slow, made a couple of roster swaps, and then were the second best team in the regular season over the second half.
Well, I mean, I just want to see these guys play, to be honest.
Yeah, I know, right?
I think having watched this, I agree. There's definitely it's very nice. I would agree with Utility, actually. I think it's very nice to see that all of the teams can potentially take it. Well, at least a big chunk of the teams can take games off of each other. I think that makes for the most interesting league dynamic. And overall, I would agree. I think UB's definitely out in front. I think COF, BBC, etc. are kind of behind that in terms of what I've seen so far. I would love to see that rematch, to be honest, the COF BBC rematch, as and when it happens. And other than that, I am probably going to be looking out for the next team to really challenge YUBI. Those are my takeaways, I think, from watching these.
I just really want to play COF in playoffs because
there we go.
That'd be a good series.
I'll actually have Gaffy in my team when I play against them.
Let's go.
I have a really hard time, given the current standings, coming up with not fun to watch playoff series, which I think is a fantastic place to be halfway through the league season.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of the matches are a lot more fun than they were last season.
And especially once you get to best of series and there's a lot more depth of what are you doing in the second draft and the third draft. You get a lot more interesting dynamics going on than best of ones where, it matters and everyone's trying their hardest, but there's a lot less strategy and repeated play.
Yeah, 100%. It's good to see teams because with a lot of players, your rosters and so on, it takes a couple of games against a squad to actually get an idea of how they play and how you can counteract it. And the games in the lead off to playoffs, it's always nice to see once some teams have some familiarity with each other and they start bringing new stuff to the table that they think it's going to work really well. So I agree with that.
Yeah, I think the most fun I've had in the FoF altogether was playing through playoffs last season.
Playoffs are definitely a different beast. There's just something about them that just makes it so much more fun. It just ramps
we
up.
had to play so many games in playoffs. It was nuts.
Yep.
We were so tired.
So many games back to back.
When we played INT in the semifinals and it went to 5 games, and there was a couple really long games in that series, and we got to the end of it and we had Elder and Baron, and I was sitting there and I was like, I didn't even realize we had either buff. My team's like, we have these, and I'm like, no, we don't. What are you talking about?
We played INT the next week, and they were not the same team, and I think it was they were just exhausted.
They were just so tired.
Yeah, I was so tired after that series. It was ridiculous. Yeah. I'm also actually looking forward to. There's a lot less break weeks because it's more condensed to get everything done.
They're trying to get everything done for Thanksgiving. Yeah.
For Thanksgiving. And I actually like not having the break weeks because I feel like when I'm off for a week, when I come back, I always play worse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We understand.
Going into that, when I was playing against YUBI in the finals, the first 2 games, I just felt stiff as a board. And then it wasn't until game 3 that I was actually felt like I was playing like myself.
It's
Yeah, that's
crazy
why
how
we
quickly
threw
that
the
sets
first
in.
series against PBZ. We just wanted to make sure we were fresh for final.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
That was the strat. I should have lost in quarterfinals. And I don't have a break week to get rusty. No, it was still a fun series.
All right, well, so with that, we're going to go ahead and close it out here. I want to say Utility Monster, Lolo, Red, thank you so much for dropping by for the lounge. Also want to give a special thanks to our sponsors, Adobe Creative Cloud and Logitech Gaming. We greatly appreciate your support. Remember to tune into our games on Monday, September 13th and Tuesday, September 14th at twitch.tv/FoF Esports. The link will be down below in the description. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and enjoy the rest of your time, and see you on the Rift.